Are we getting listeners on this or no?
We're getting we do have some listeners on there.
Like
So
two?
yeah, like two.
Really?
Hello and welcome to Loanology, your go-to podcast for unlocking the secrets of the mortgage and real estate world. I'm Jonathan Wells, and I'm here to guide you through everything from first-time homebuyer grants to the latest trends in real estate. Whether you're buying your first home, looking to refinance, or simply interested in the market, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive deep into topics that matter to you, the consumer. We'll demystify the mortgage process, explore innovative financial solutions, and provide you with the tools and knowledge you need to navigate the real estate market confidently. From interviews with industry experts to tips on improving your credit score and securing the best mortgage rates, Loanology is your ultimate resource for all things mortgage and real estate. So, whether you're here to learn a few tips, find your next home, or just curious about the market, tune in and let's make your real estate journey a successful one.
Fuck, gotta promote this.
So we got to promote it. We got to post it on our Facebooks and everything. If you're listening to this, for our two listeners out there, you got to like and share. Get some friends that'll watch this and listen to it. So
We started?
yeah, we just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot to grab some Birkenstocks and wear those today.
Yeah, no, they're comfy. So, actually, I'm rocking the Adidas.
I noticed when I walked in, I was like, "You're not rocking the Birks, dude."
No, I'm going casual.
It's my casual sandals.
Yep.
No, I love it. So yeah, what's been happening, man? What's going on?
Just, same thing everybody else is doing, working, getting ready for the big changes in real estate that's coming up.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting stuff.
I actually have, so I want to talk to you about that. I've got an agent that is starting, a lot of those conversations now, and he has like his own setup on that. So I want to kind of hear what your process is going into these new changes.
For which side?
On the buy side.
So honestly, I don't have like a million buyers. I have
Sure.
a few, and I just let them know that some of them knew like about what was happening, right? Because of the news and whatnot. And mainly sellers have asked me more about it, to be honest with you. But the couple buyers, I just told them like, hey man, there's some changes coming up into the market where we got to have a negotiated commission between you and I, and then I'm going to write an offer that the seller pay it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because essentially that's what everybody's going to do.
Right.
Everybody's acting like. I actually think this is kind of better.
Right.
In some cases, because like commercial's always been this way.
Right.
Like where you have now the exclusive agency agreement. Commercials never. I don't think they've really done that. Like unless they opted to.
Sure.
But as a mandate, I think it's good. I think it's beneficial.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that like as an agent, you know what you're going to get paid now. So I got one guy that I work with a lot that his thing is he wants to make 3%, right? And he's out in Illinois. So he'll write, like, he has them sign the buyer's agreement before they go out for showings. Most places are paying 2.25% to 2.5%. So then he just charges that extra 0.75 or 0.5% to the buyer, and then we're all good, right?
Right.
So on my end, I just tell him like, cool, like, and he usually gets credits to offset that too. So that way, like, the client doesn't really have to bring anything to closing extra,
Well, what he could have been doing though, so the client didn't do that, is just write an offer, seller pay this.
Right. Yeah. Well, like, basically, what he does is he writes the offer the way that the client wants him to write it up, but then he just adds also this much in seller credits to pay my commission or whatever it is, right? So he's pretty much doing the same thing, right?
Okay.
And so sometimes they'll get those, sometimes they'll get a counter where the buyer has to pay it and like whatever, right?
Right.
So that's what he's doing. And then I've got another agent that is in Indiana, and he has he does a lot of properties in Gary too, where like he's buying, like they're doing tax sales, or his client's buying them for 10 grand or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So his whole thing is, my minimum that I'm going to make is 2.5% or $1,000, whatever's more, right? So for those places in Gary, like he'll just be like, all right, my flat fee's $1,000, right? So he's having people, sign those buyer agreements now. And then he also is thinking about adding in, like, I think you guys can do a retainer fee, right?
Yep.
So he's looking at adding that in there too, of like, 25% to 50% of what his minimum would be, which is $1,000, right? So, he's thinking about holding $250 to $500, depending on depending on how he wants to set it up. He hasn't decided which one he wants to go yet. But I told him, I was like, dude, just use like $500 or whatever. And then that way you're still getting something, like if the client walks away or whatever it is,
Right. In some cases, yeah, that's what I really like, because, like, people think there's no work involved, right? Oh, you just showed a house or whatever, but they don't
Right.
see the back end and the scheduling and the this and that, and the
Right.
time away from family, time away from this, time from other things that you can't be doing because you're driving, and the to and from. And I think in some cases I'll be using the retainer, because I've had clients, man, where I've literally worked with them for
Mhm.
four. I got a client right now, dude. I met in 2020.
Yeah.
And I've been, not that I've shown them like a million homes. I've probably shown like 20 or 30 or something, which
Sure.
isn't that bad.
Still
over
a lot
that
of
period
homes.
of time, but like one home we went to 5 times,
Right.
over and over and over,
Right.
and it's like, which I ended up telling them they shouldn't buy it because of certain situations with the house that I noticed, and I was like, dude, it's gonna cost too much, but it would be nice in some cases to where it's like you charge that retainer, so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, at least I know I'm getting something out of this, even if they don't buy something. But I was talking to somebody about the retainer thing, and it's kind of different. So like you actually have to hold the retainer as earnest money,
Gotcha.
and then it comes back at closing, because that was like one thing I was kind of stumped on, is like, say you charge somebody $1,000 retainer, and it comes back as a credit at close, right?
Mhm.
But then say the seller's paying the closing. Well, that, say if you already took that 1,000 and you don't bring it to closing, then the seller pays 10. Can they give the 1,000 to the buyer as a reimbursement on the retainer?
Gotcha.
That's where it was getting kind of confusing. So the one gentleman said, which again, this is new to everybody, but they said that bringing it to close, like to closing, almost as like an earnest money, is probably the easiest form.
Yeah, I feel like that would be, because all we would need is to source. Well, I don't even think you would need to source that, because so for most loans, large deposits start at about 1% of the sales price, or half of the client's monthly income, whatever is higher, right? Or whatever's lower, or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever's lower of that. So let's say you're buying a $200,000 house and you make $5,000 a month. Well, half your income is $2,500. 1% of the sales price is $2,000. So if there's a deposit or deposits adding up to more than $2,000, then that's where we start to look for, like, okay, we need to source that large deposit, right? So if you're paying a retainer, it's probably not going to be anything more than $1,000. And people, there's really no $100,000 homes anymore, right? So you could probably enter that into the transaction whenever you want and not really have a huge deal from the lender to be able to use those funds, because it is like, you don't really have to source stuff that's that low of a deposit.
Right. Well, I guess what I was getting at is like, okay, so let's say the total commission is 10 grand, right?
Right.
And I charged $1,000 retainer, so there's 9 left, and the seller agrees to pay the 10, but I already have the 1 for the buyer. Can the
Right.
buyer get the reimbursement on the closing?
Yeah, they should be able to. I would imagine. Yeah.
That's like where it's all kind of evolving or whatever. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of excited for the change. I think it's gonna. I feel bad, like I do and I don't, but like I think it's gonna stop a lot of the, a lot of the just bad practices.
Yeah.
Like I was part of 4 transactions last year in one way, shape, or form, where an agent, because of the market and the condition of the market, went back to a full-time job and essentially just told his clients, like, hey, go find an agent to show you a bunch of homes, and when you find the house that you like, call me and I'll schedule a showing and then I'll write the offer.
Yeah,
And so then, like, these buyers are running these agents around ragged and doing this and that, whatever, and it's like they were never going to use them anyways.
Right.
That's going to eliminate that. So
Yeah.
And people don't think about it, but it's like, you're driving, you're doing this, you're spending your time, and it's like, you have a job. Why don't you go work for free for, sometimes 15, 20, 30 hours and not
Right.
collect a paycheck?
Oh, yeah.
And people, you flip stuff on them like that, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Right, exactly. And again, to your point, like people, all they see is, they just imagine that like selling sunset is what realtors do,
God, dude, that would be great.
I know, right?
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
And what they
Oh,
don't
my
see is the
gosh.
fact that like, obviously you're driving everywhere, you're doing all these things. I know an agent that posted on her Facebook that she did like, I think she went to like 40 showings in one day or something like that, or 20 showings or whatever. And it was like I think it was like maybe a 9-hour day between like driving to all these places and doing all these showings and stuff. And I was like, that's a lot of work. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
just, and mileage on a car and everything else, right?
right.
So, for like, I'm really excited for the agents that, now have this ability to really like secure the fact that they're working with serious clients. I just kind of wish that like I could have something like that, because I mean, I shit you not, I've had in the last year, I think I've had 2 or 3, at least off the top of my head, 3 clients that have literally gotten all the way up from, new lead, pre-approved. I've met with them, I've ran credit, I've done all the work on there. So just getting the pre-approval letter is probably about 5 to 6 hours worth of work, right? Then following up with them to get into homes, helping them get their offer accepted on the home, working from that offer being accepted through the appraisal, through final approval, getting ready to schedule the closing, right? So that's another probably 30 to 40 hours of work between myself and the team on that particular deal, right? Just for them to pull the plug at final approval and say, oh, we don't want to go either with me because they found someone rate that's an eighth cheaper, or they just don't want to do the deal at all because of whatever BS reason that they come up with, right?
Right.
And I'm like, dude, like I literally put all this effort in, right? And all this time, and like I don't get compensated at all. And in some cases, I lost money because they wouldn't pay for the appraisal that we ordered, right?
See, that's the tough one. Seeing we'll only get paid if people are using the retainer,
Right. Right.
Because otherwise, we still won't in those cases. But yeah, it happens, man, and it's a numbers game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed it a lot more though. Like ever since the market's changed, and I think it is because like some of these agents, like one, he went back to being a teacher. One guy went back to Ford. One guy went,
Yeah.
and they don't want to tell people that they're not full time or whatever.
Right.
So,
Right.
But I think those are going to be the ones that are sinking with these changes because if you're not available to show homes, why would somebody sign exclusivity with you?
Right. No, exactly. And I would for sure be using that line as a full-time agent,
Right. Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like honestly, like it's funny. Like people are like, why can't you stay new agents? And I think everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has to, right? Like the greatest of anything always start at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Right? They always start somewhere. But what I can't stand is the people that could care less about helping their clients. They just want to make a buck, and they could care less about learning the industry, learning the business, how to help their client, how to strategically set it up to where they can do this or that, and they create chaos. And then they don't know what they're doing. But it was funny. So like I've had numerous phone calls, friends, right? People I know call me, maybe not like close friends, but like acquaintances, let's say acquaintances.
Sure.
And we've done deals in the past, but I knew they started working with somebody else and they call me. So they're asking all these questions to structure stuff or whatever. And then I'm like, wait a second, do you have an agent? And they're like, yeah, my girl's sister's cousin.
Yeah.
Like, bro, call them. Well, she doesn't know the answer. Well,
yeah, too bad, bro. Too bad.
It's like, it's just funny, man. I'm like, but that's where actually somebody was making the comment that yes, you got to have the exclusive agency agreement to show the home, but truthfully, you should actually have the exclusive agency agreement before you start helping the person and guiding them, with information. Like, so that's going to be a win there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that like with the one agent I was telling you that wants to do the retainer, I was telling him, I was like, this is your opportunity and any agent's opportunity to really have that consultation, right?
Right.
Because I don't really know if a lot of agents do a full buyer's consult. I think that they just talk with them about what they want while they're showing them houses, right?
Typically, that's
Right.
how it works.
And so, like, I was telling this agent, I was like, for me, I have that full buyer's consultation, which again, my industry is slightly different, so it makes more sense for me to do that than for an agent, right? But I told him, I was like, I always gauge, like, with my clients, if a new lead comes in and they're calling me to start the process, I want to figure out, like, okay, how can I triage this client through the process to get them what they want, but also make sure that they go through the important stuff too, right?
Right.
So one of the questions that I asked them when we're on the phone for the first time is, are we planning to write an offer today, right? Because if they are planning to write an offer today, okay, cool. I'm not going to schedule an appointment for 3 days from now. I'm going to get your application in right now, and I'll run the numbers for you, send you what you qualify for, and then we can catch up on everything after you submit the offer, right? Because I want to help get them what they want and what they need right away, right? So, for this particular agent, I was like, hey, when a client calls you for, a new listing that they're going to go look at, right? You can ask them, are you like, do you want to place an offer on that today? Or like, are we just planning in the planning stages right now? So you can gauge, that the level of seriousness of that client in the moment.
Right.
Then at that point, if they're like, oh yeah, we want to go look at this place and we're thinking as long as it checks all our boxes, we'll put in an offer. Cool. Here's my buyer's agreement. I'm gonna send it to you. Like, what's your email? You can e-sign it. I'll walk it through, through it with you on the phone right now. Here's what it is. Like, I'm gonna make at least $1,000. We're gonna try and get that paid for by the seller. But worst case, you'll cover part of that, whatever they don't cover, this, that, the other, right? And then, so that they could do that e-sign, you're good to go. Also, if they're like, oh, we were looking at this place, but we want to get some more information on our homes and everything else, well, then cool. Now he can meet with them in his office or at a Starbucks and actually go through all of that, person to person, face to face, as to make that way the client, fully understands everything, is able to go through with it, right?
Right.
So I think that that's like, it really just adds that level of professionalism to the industry. And I'm comparing realtors to like travel agents. There's still travel agents that are out there, and there's still like professional, travel agents that do make money in that profession, but it's a lot less than what it used to be.
Oh yeah.
And I think that
versus Expedia and things like that.
exactly, and I think that like with real estate is different because you're managing, more of an asset than like a vacation that somebody could just book on Expedia, right? But I think that you are going to see, still that separation between the people who are like, oh yeah, I'm also a travel agent and I can like book your stuff, versus somebody who's like, no, like I do this for a living. This is what I do, right?
Right.
And so I think that you're going to see that gap kind of continue to expand between the part-timers and the ones that are, actually serious about everything. Not to say that a part-timer is not serious, because again, there's people that have dual careers and they're trying to get into the business.
Right.
But you know what we're talking about. Like the people that are
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, I'll just make money off my family, when they go buy a house or whatever, versus somebody who's actually trying to make a career out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like, yeah. There's a lot of that. I mean, it's whatever. And you gotta start somewhere.
Right. No, 100%.
I just, that's what I would like to see that. So we'll see what happens. So, I mean, because like, so like the fines, right? We just voted on the fines. So I can't really disclose them yet. Like if you're caught
Sure.
without an exclusive agency agreement, they're pretty
hefty.
They're pretty intense. Yeah.
Nice.
And one of the girls was like, the only one that opposed it, and she looked at me and she's like, "You're so mean," and I'm like, "I'm so mean? What are you talking about? I'm so mean."
Right.
I was like, "Dude, I'm a believer.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to sell real estate, at least know how to help your clients.
Right.
And if you don't, there's the door."
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it all stems from how I got into this business, dude. I got screwed hard when I was a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, dude, I didn't let the lender talk me into buying this big house that I was approved for and blah, 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 blah. And I bought what I did because I never had a late payment. But, dude, it created nothing but stress.
Yeah.
All over some BS, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it every day. Like, people not knowing townships and telling them, oh yeah, it's this, and then it's like, no, it's not, it's that, and then the people are mad, or
Right.
It's like, come on, man. Like, at least, like, if you don't know, just say, let me look into it, or let me verify this, or let me,
Right.
that's the stuff. It's like, I would like to see gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, there's like, it's not that you're mean, you're just expecting a certain level of professionalism from the industry, right? And yes, does that come across as, maybe a little bit more strict or maybe harsh or whatever it is? Possibly, sure, right? But what's the alternative? You're super loose on everything, and then you have people that either have bad intentions or simply just don't have like the drive or the discipline to learn the skill, and they either intentionally or unintentionally screw somebody over, like what you were talking about earlier, And so then, what's worse, right? Like, us as a profession having more guidelines, or somebody getting screwed over intentionally or unintentionally, So, like, that's what it is.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I can't wait to see what the fines are.
it's fun, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't realize that all fines not only attach to the agent, but if the agent were to like drop out of the business, the managing broker or broker owner is responsible for that because they're the extension.
Okay.
So it's like this could get pretty.
Yeah.
This could get pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. We'll see.
So yeah. So like so does it work the same way? I think because there's other industries where like you have like a doctor, right? You have certain insurance to cover malpractice or things like that, right? So that way, if something were to happen and you got sued, like you don't have to come up with the $5 million or whatever it is, right? Do they have that for real estate agents?
Everybody does, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. So would that be covered like through that insurance or no? Okay.
No.
You
gotta pay the fine. So
what does the money go towards?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
Like, whatever.
Goes to pay for the golf outing.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it. You never got a problem,
Yeah.
But that's where I'm like, this could get pretty interesting because like it's honestly amazing to me. So like we're in the meeting, we're Wednesday.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And people were like, it's amazing like how many people don't even know what's going on or that the rules are changing. They think we're making it up themselves and blah blah blah. Like it's not an our thing, whatever. And I looked at them and said, this all stems from something that was filed in 2019.
Right.
It's been in every headline, every major paper. It's been everywhere.
Yeah.
If you don't know what happened and you're an agent, there's the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Because clearly you are not in touch with the industry whatsoever. And that's when the girl's like, you're so mean. And I'm like, no, I can't stand it. Like, I'm not going to go act like I'm a freaking engineer.
Yeah.
And I can tell you all this stuff about soil and, the sky, whatever. And it's like, I know nothing about it. Like, dude, stop.
Yeah.
Like, and then, why are you guys making these rules? This makes no sense. You're so difficult. Excuse me?
Yeah.
This is a national thing that got signed off by the DOJ, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you don't get the email, so clearly you don't check your email. You also don't get the text message that we send you.
Yeah.
You also didn't see,
I'm surprised you showed up today.
It's like, dude, they're telling me about these phone calls, and I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, I would lose it. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, really?
Well, and I'm glad that there's people like you that are on the board, for NIRA, because I've been to some meetings like that and stuff like that. And it's just, I always feel like you're not really getting anything done, right? Except for this, meeting that you guys were talking about, right? And again, it's like, yeah, like you're actually signing up to help, be that, caveat between like the agent on the street and NAR, right? So we got to figure out how we can be compliant with NAR and also keep it straight for people on the street, right? But yeah, so question on that too.
Yeah.
Let's say an agent gets hit with that fine, right? And they work for a particular brokerage, just think of a brokerage or whatever in the area, right? Yeah. And maybe another agent from either that same brokerage or a franchise of that brokerage gets hit as well, right? Is there like I'm assuming that there's like step ups if the same person gets hit more than one time, but is there step ups for the brokerage because it's their responsibility to train the agents?
No, no,
Okay.
not that I recall.
Okay. Because like the
It's
only
agent. Third time, you don't want the third time.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of glad that, because like the one thing I've been worried about is I'm gonna follow the rules and I'm gonna do that because I believe everybody should.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep it like a fair playing field. But it's like I know some people won't, but with these hefty fines, I don't think they're gonna want to chance it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that I really don't see a lot of people like trying to get away with it, to your point. I don't know what the fines are, but I'll find out probably next week or whatever.
Yeah, I think they'll be releasing them because we just voted to approve them. And we're the last group to do that, so they'll probably send them out soon.
Nice. Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
It's fun.
And then so we'll get that worked out or whatever. I'll see what the fines are and everything. But again, like I wasn't sure if, because again, there's some certain brokerages that target newer agents and everything.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, is that brokerage going to be in trouble? Because, newer agents are probably more likely to have issues like this, not because of anything other than the fact that they're just, might not be educated the right way on it,
Right.
and they haven't been around and haven't seen, everything come through in the lawsuit and everything else. Right. So I was wondering, okay, it's like if a brokerage gets, 3 hits, then like, are they going to get massively fined or anything like that either,
So that's a good question, and that's one I'd actually have to look into.
Sure, yeah.
Anytime something were to happen with the individual agent, the broker's tied to it.
Right.
And the third time an agent does that, they have to go in front of the committee with their broker. So there could be consequences
Yeah.
for that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't something that like we necessarily voted on, but I think there could be something there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough, man. Like, because people always ask me, like, Brent, why haven't you gone on your own? Why haven't you done that? And it's like, because I always wanted to.
Yeah.
And then when this got filed, I remember it was like March 19th of 2019 or March 18th or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's see where this plays out. I was like, because this could definitely make things weird. Because like the one thing I would not want to do is because it truly is putting a lot of responsibility on the brokers too, like the managing broker, the principal of that brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I couldn't imagine having like 400 like whatever agents.
Right.
That what? Like I think the best thing is the person that's brand new coming into the industry like today.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is all that they're going to know.
Right. Yep.
They're not going to know anything different.
Yep.
They're not going to be like, oh, I've been around for 10 years and I do like a deal a year and I spend like $1,400 a year or what, you know what I mean? But,
right.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. There's going to be, I bet there's going to be a lot of fines though.
Yeah, I think initially there would be. Yeah, I feel like initially there's going to be, because people are always going to try and probably, test that line. And maybe when the first person gets popped, depending on how big that story is inside of the community, it would probably definitely deter a lot of agents from doing that,
Dude, I hope, man. Get it, prove it. I suggested we do digital signatures for everything so that people can't,
Yeah, you can't backdate it and everything. Oh yeah.
Because they can backdate a digital signature, but then you say, okay, give me the certificate.
Yep.
And then the certificate will state when it was actually done.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll see.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
No, for sure. I think that it's going to put a lot of pressure on brokerages to really lean into more of the education and the training with their agents.
Dude, that's the hard thing, though.
Yeah.
So like here, so I'm at Mackay, right? And they have so much training.
Right.
The problem with real estate is is everybody's an independent broker.
Mhm.
So legally, you cannot tell them they need to go to this training class.
Right.
It's kind of like that thing, right? You can
Mhm.
lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink.
Right.
It's the same thing. And
Right.
that's where I think people are going to be like, listen, you're a liability, dude. You got to go.
Right. I
You
for
know,
sure.
like,
That was gonna be my next
You're
question.
100% liability. So there's the door.
Right. Yeah.
I can see people starting to do that, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
More. I don't know. We'll see. It's whatever. You
Yeah.
know? But I know people are sellers. So when you were asking if I was having to talk, like most of my sellers were asking me the question. I'm like, dude, essentially nothing's changing.
Right.
Like the buyer's going to ask for the commission you paid for through the offer.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, exactly.
But yeah, I want to see how this whole thing plays out because I really do think it's better overall for the industry to have it this way.
Yeah. And I think that you'll probably see like a little bit of compression on like commissions, you know, because like we went through that in what 2015, I think, you know, on the mortgage lender side. So we like you couldn't charge like, you know, we used to be able to charge whatever you could get away with essentially, right?
That changed in like 10, right?
Yeah,
Like the
between 10 and
CFP
15.
10,
Yeah, somewhere around
changed
there.
'cause, yeah, because lenders they do all kinds of crazy stuff back in the day.
Oh yeah, you charge like 2 points on the front and 6 points on the back or whatever, you know, like that type of thing, right? So now like you're capped. Like there's, you know, if you're over that, you know, if you're over a certain amount, it's a high cost loan and you can't close a high cost loan, right? So I think for you guys as real estate agents, you know, I feel like you could probably see commissions get tighter, you know, because that way there's more transparent. Not that there ever wasn't transparency with it, because the seller can always see where it's at, but now you have to.
Some cases.
Oh, right. I'm like, but now you're like actually reviewing that. You're not just saying like, hey, here's your net, right? And they're like, and if they look up, they can see it. It's like, hey, this is what I'm charging you, and this is what the buyer's agent is charging you as well in the offer.
Right. Yeah.
So there's just more of a spotlight on it now, right? And whenever there's a spotlight on fees and stuff, you know, typically agents are probably going to get nervous. They might discount their fees in the moment and everything else. And so you may see some commissions tighten up a little bit.
Yeah, I could see maybe like I don't know because I feel like they already have been.
Sure.
Because like I've seen things drop. Really, it's like on the buy side, it's the hard one, right? Because you never got to pick like, you know, what you thought you were worth, dude. Like I remember this one, a friend of mine had it listed, and I still give her crap to this day because it was so low. I was like, dude, I was totally like just giving her crap.
Right.
But it's like that's somebody I literally probably showed like 80 homes to and drove around forever. And it's like, dude, I'm not gonna work for nothing, dude. On that, driving between 3 counties and you know, hundreds of hours. It's like, no, man, McDonald's is hiring, dude. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, you know, so we'll see what happens. I think on the buy side, I think what it's gonna do, because like, you know, like so many people would take like say 5 or 6, and then they pay the buyer's agent nothing, and they would keep the majority for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I think is gonna go.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you know, like you take I gotta be careful on talking commissions, right? Because like it was always kind of dictated by the listing agent what they were going to pay the buyer. And now at least it can be a negotiated item for that agent.
Exactly.
Which can be a benefit to the buyer too. So
now, question on that too, right? Like, let's say, you know, I don't know if this would make sense to do as a listing agent, but it would definitely help the buyer out with everything. I know you can't disclose like what the buyer's commission is, right? Because that's like the whole thing about the lawsuit, right?
You can't say anything about commission.
Right. Well, you can't say anything about the buyer's commission, right? But could you say like the seller is paying a total commission of X on the deal? No. Okay.
No, you can't say that.
Because I was like, I wonder if it's like, oh, like, you know, listing agents commission 6%. So then as a buyer's agent, I'm like, oh, cool. Like I'll negotiate for 3, you know?
So no,
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause-
gotcha.
Well, so like you could essentially, I guess you could do that, but you can't advertise it anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like that's MLS platform, because then you get fined again.
Okay.
Like, so there's different sides, right? Like if
Gotcha.
you don't have agreement signed, and then like you can't put it showing time, you can't put it in MLS anywhere, you can't put it in agent remarks, you can't put it anywhere.
But you can put it in Facebook.
As long as it's not an MLS supported group.
Gotcha.
If
Okay.
it's like an MLS, like because we have like the NIRA group, and then when the MLS went down with the crash, with the hack, we started NIRA buy sell or whatever. Like, so anything like that, you can't talk about it. Your own personal website, you can advertise it. But like I've told my sellers, I'm like, listen, man, the only difference that's going to happen is when you and I, and this is like the way I would think about it, is like when you and I get together, we're just not going to talk necessarily that day about what we're going to pay the buyer's agent.
Right.
It's like, because the way it's structured now is regardless what I say, none of that matters.
Right.
Regardless what we say we're willing to do, none of that matters.
Right.
It's a 100% negotiated item now.
Right.
And it's something that's going to be in every offer from here on out.
So then,
it's irrelevant.
Right. So then, as a listing agent, you would come up to your seller and say, "Cool, this is what you're going to pay me for listing your home, and then we'll worry about the buyer's commission when they write an offer."
Because we don't know what they're going to put.
Right. Yeah.
And we could offer this, and they could be like, "Nope."
Right.
This,
yeah.
And you just don't like. So it's like, just leave it alone. Now, where it's going to get interesting, right, is in the multiple offer situation. But it's like anything, because previously it was already in the purchase price.
Right.
So it's essentially going to stay in the purchase price again. But it's just, people are going to have to figure out, like, like say like, I don't know, Tim over at XYZ has a house for sale, and you write an offer and I write an offer, then they're just going to have to do slightly more math on their net sheets to the seller. Like, okay, with this offer, this is what you're looking at getting because he wants X commission. But then with this offer, maybe it's a little lower of an offer, but the commission's only this,
right?
To you. So now this is actually the higher net,
Right.
I don't know if people are bright enough to do that. I feel like some people don't even do net sheets.
No, they don't. Of course not.
I'm like, what? Like,
well, that's going to be on the listing agent too, which you're gonna have to compare and get your net sheets out, look at different offers and everything. So again, like if you're a professional and you have like spreadsheets, you can do all that. Great. If you're not, just be better,
or go.
Yeah, or leave. So what's the over under, right? I'm thinking 6.5. If you said, that there's going to be fines for people who are advertising commission on MLS platforms, right?
Yeah,
which includes MLS supported Facebook groups, right?
Supported Facebook, showing time, like any of those programs.
So like if it's like NIRA buy and sell, right? And someone posts a Facebook post and they're posting it to their personal, they share it to all the different groups they're in, they share it to that group too, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, check out this home just listed, seller's offering $15,000 in a commission for this place, right? My over under is probably 6.5 for the first 30 days of fines that are going to go out. So I think that you'll have like 7 fines probably, for that specific thing, just because I think a lot of agents are going to post on Facebook and just forget that they can't share it to that group, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know, to be honest with you. I didn't really think about that because, like, in my mind, I'm not advertising anything.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot, agents that do all that shit on Facebook.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying, like I've told my sellers, like, let's just leave it out.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to put it. I can't advertise it. I can have a conversation, say they're willing to do this, but then it's like,
But you're smart, Brent.
It's like,
you know what's going on.
People make things way more confusing than what it needs to be. And it's like, dude, are you trying to make yourself feel smart? Because you're not.
Right, exactly.
It's like, just simplify it, man. It's like, I try to simplify everything in life. I remember when I was a kid, I had a teacher, one of my teachers, And he'd be like, "Come on, man, it's all about that kiss, baby." And I'm like, "What?"
Yep.
He's like, "Keep it simple, or keep it stupid simple, or keep it simple, stupid."
Yep, exactly.
And I'm like, "Hey, man, I like that."
All about that kiss, baby.
Right. And it's like, man, people make things way too difficult.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, why are you overthinking this?
Right.
It's like, just okay. What's your agreement with the buyer? Write it in, move on.
Right. No, exactly.
I'm not advertising anything. And honestly, I don't care what you advertise because I know what I'm going to write in.
Right. Exactly.
So we'll see.
But that's the thing too. Like I know realtors that I'll even get emails, from them saying, "Hey, we have to move this property. Seller's offering a bonus over the next week to get it sold. Here's the amount of the bonus," right? I'm like, I'm not an agent. Like, I don't like. Why am I getting these emails, right?
Right.
But
they probably blast it to everybody because they don't have their CRMs. Like,
oh, dude, for sure.
Like this, this group here, this group there, this group there. They're just like sending out free for all.
Yeah, no, 100%. But like again, I'm thinking like, how many agents are going to just automatically share on Facebook and they're like, cool, like we can't advertise anymore on the MLS, but we're going to still advertise, right? We're going to put it on this post and that way it's covered, but I'm going to accidentally share it to an MLS platform Facebook group,
So the buy sell, I know that they're going to shut down the group so that
Okay.
you can't do that. And I don't think you can actually post on the Naira. It's only for Naira.
Okay.
You can comment, but
Sure.
you can't post. So
And you probably have to do like approved posts too.
Safe there, I think. So
what about like all of the buy sell, like Hammond's buy sell, Valparaiso? Those are all fine. Yeah. Because they're privately owned groups,
Right.
Yeah.
So, but then like, I don't even get why somebody would even offer that there because you're kind of more or less targeting consumers when it's not like agents are looking there.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why it's like I don't get why people are so worried about it. So,
yeah. I mean, I think that like you're still gonna have, I feel like for sure, I feel like there's still gonna be a few agents that are going to put money, like put an advertisement for what the seller's willing to pay.
Right.
Because a lot of times, oh yeah, because at the same token, like you're saying, don't worry about it until we get an offer because it's 100% negotiable anyways, which makes sense, right?
Right.
But a lot of agents are probably going to try and, they make it more complicated than it has to be, right? So they're going to want to get ahead of a problem that they don't even have yet, right? So it's like, cool, like what do you want to negotiate or what do you want to give the buyer's agent if they ask for it? Cool, I'm going to advertise that so we can get a buyer in, right? And again, like it's going to be negotiated anyways, when they get an offer. So why even do it?
Yeah, and it's like regardless of what the listing, because so the listing contract has that broken down, right?
Right.
2 sides or whatever, but it's still irrelevant,
right?
Because it's a negotiated item. So it's like, dude, just like, don't make it harder than it needs to be,
right?
So is the way I see it. So, and truthfully, like the buyer's agent can reduce what they have agreed. Say they've agreed at 3 with the buyer, and they're like, "Bro, I showed you 3 homes. Like, okay, they're willing to do this. I'll reduce it to that for you." But
yeah,
I could also see on the flip side, like, look, dude, it's been 2.5 years. I've shown you about 70, 80 homes. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna have to pay a little bit.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll see.
So what's the Okay, so another question for you on this. Let's say I'm working with you. I'm your buyer, and I sign my buyer's agreement with you. I'm paying you, let's just say 3%, right? Okay. And the seller's only offering a 2% commission. I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm strapped for funds. I can come up with, maybe the extra 0.25%, but I still have to pay my down payment, closing costs, everything else. So the most I can get you, most you're going to get on this particular house is 2.25% when you're normally charging 3%, right? Mm-hmm. Is it an ethics violation or any kind of violation for you to renegotiate that buyer's contract with me and charge me less when you charge somebody else the 3%?
No.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
You can take less. You can't take more.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. You can't take more than the agreement.
Sure. Because like on my end, like I have my set prices on everything. And if I give a credit, I have to have a reason for that, obviously. So the reason for this would be I don't have the funds to come up with everything else. That would make sense on your end of it, right?
Right.
And on the lender side, usually like, whenever I'm giving a pricing exception, I have documented like this is what I quoted the client for a rate and fees. And I got the deal in, and then rates shot up the next day before I could lock it in, right? So I just have to give them a 50 basis point PE. We're good to go, or they have a competitor, they're shopping me with somebody else. I'm like, okay, the only way I keep the deal is if I match that rate. So here's the loan estimate from Rocket. Here's the PE I gave to match that. Now we're good to go. Stuff like that, right? But it's not just like, oh, this person is it like looks a certain way and I'm going to credit them based off of that, right? Like that's obviously clearly illegal on my end, right? For sure. So yeah. So that's what I was asking, because I was always wondering, like, is it allowed? So yeah, you can charge less, you just can't charge more. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And that's like whatever your agreement is, you can't ask for more from the seller.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm always curious about stuff like that. So
we'll see, and it's a learning curve. So there's going to be a lot, but I don't know. I think it'll be. I think what stinks about it is it's going to be harder for consumers to wrap their brains around it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's going to be what makes it difficult.
Right.
That's going to be because I had one of my clients like, Brent, so we don't gotta pay commission anymore to the buyer's agent? No, dude, that's not true. Like yes, okay,
Mhm.
we're not taking it up front the way that we did,
Right.
but this is what's gonna happen.
Right.
And they're like, so nothing's changing. And I was like, it's another form that we fill out.
Mhm.
Another thing to negotiate.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
But that's where it's difficult, because it's like I don't know what this stat is now. I know before the pandemic, 70% of households. So like I think it was like 2016, dude. 2016, and then like 3 years later. But 70% of households nationwide in 2016 didn't have $400 in reserve in the event of an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And then by 2019, it was something like 70% of U.S. households didn't have a $700 available. So to think that a buyer is essentially going to pay that fee is, I mean, dude, that's like, stop.
Right.
Like, unless they've owned a home or whatever, but when the majority of people don't have, $700 in the event of an emergency, and they got to charge it. I mean,
yeah,
it's I don't know.
No, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy. But
yeah, I mean,
the attorneys made a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if they disclose that. You know what's funny though?
What's that?
It's like so they want to talk about price fixing, right? Which actually I don't know where they ever got that, because I've literally told everybody it's always negotiable. But one of these realtors, dude, that was like really following the case, said if you want to talk about price fixing, you need to look at the New York State bar or whatever, because it states that for something like this, you need to charge a minimum of 33%. Like, and it's like, dude, that is literally the definition of price fixing. And it's like, dude, stop. It's just funny.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, man.
It's like these guys are making millions.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Think about that though. Like it's whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the market. So are you having a good year so far? We were kind of talking about that. For me, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, so I'm having a decent year, I think, all things considered, right? Like I'm not crushing it like I have, like, I mean, well, really 21 and 22 are anomalies, right? Or 2021 and like 22, yeah. So those years were like best years ever, right? Obviously, everyone kind of fell off from those years just with rates, inventory, everything else, right? I'm starting to get, my mojo back with, getting, 5, 6, 7 closings in a month, like doing stuff like that. And, it's in a high rate environment, like we're still in, like I love it, because I'm, every deal that we do right now, it's going to be a refinance in a couple of months once rates drop at whatever point they do, right?
2 years, yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, some people are thinking, I mean, obviously, economists have been wrong since 2022 about when
I've
rates are
been
going to
right.
drop. You've been right,
I've
exactly.
been
You've
right.
been
They've been
right.
Everybody, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
I could see, something happening right before the election, possibly. That would make sense, but I'm not telling my clients, hey, September we're gonna have a rates cut,
right.
Because that's definitely not. I don't really know when that's gonna happen, right? But any deal you do now, like you're gonna refinance at some point, right? So right now I'm just focusing on all purchase business, all first-time home buyers. We've got a slick new down payment assistance program that it's like, I hate the state ones because all the state ones, there's a recapture period, and the recapture, like, you have to pay that back now.
It's like 8 or 9 years. It's horrible.
And
it used to be a great program.
Oh yeah. And the fees on those are jacked up too. Like, you're juicing the fees. They're 20 to 30% higher than any other loan program out there.
And
right?
I don't get it. That was such a good program.
Well, the reason why is because it's no longer in the government's best interest for people to be buying homes right now, in my opinion. Because I think they're trying to keep people not keep people from buying homes, right? I'm not going to make that claim. But I think that, like, they're trying to keep real estate prices where they're at right now. Because if you have lower interest rates, you're going to have higher home prices. If you have more people that can qualify for a home, you're going to have higher home prices, right? So personally, I think that there is a play there to, like, reduce the amount of homes that are being purchased to keep prices where they're at while builders are bringing in more inventory. So we don't have, like, the average cost of a home in California, I think, just hit $1 million. Like, that's ridiculous, right? So, and in our area, I mean, you can get, like, you're looking at a decent home around, 250 to 300,
right.
Which is low for the nation, right? So I think that, like, personally, I do think that they're trying to keep real estate prices where they're at steady, and have more inventory come through. So then, it's more stable, right?
Yeah.
But regardless of that, like, so with this program, it's fully forgivable at closing. So you get your 3.5% grant. It's forgiven at closing, so you can refinance in 6 months and no recapture.
That's awesome.
And there's, like, it's a broker deal, so I have to charge a broker fee on it. So that broker fee is like 2.75% is typically what's being charged on that. And then you just get seller credits to offset that and some of the prepaids or other closing costs. And then now your client's walking in. Normally that's a $10,000, on average, cost for a $250,000 home or whatever. They're walking in with $4,000 or $5,000,
Right.
So they're still bringing some money to the table, but it's significantly less. And, they're able to refinance that in 6 months without having to pay back the grant that they got, which in Indiana's case is 3 to 6% of the sales price
for 9 years.
Right. And and a lot of those are, like, Illinois has them and Indiana has them. Every state has them. Illinois, you're either paying it monthly or you pay it when the home sells.
Right.
Indiana, I think that you pay it back when the home sells.
Yeah.
It's just chilling there as a silent second lien until you sell, and then you pay that off.
Right. And let's say it's after the 9 years, right?
I think even after the 9 years, you still have to pay it.
Really?
I think they just changed that. Yeah, in, like, January they updated their guides, so I think that it is like, you have to repay that back no matter what.
See, and it's like kind of a double-edged sword if they're trying to keep it to where not as many homes are selling, because, like, with the lack of inventory, I mean, dude, like, so many people that bought homes in 19, 20, 21, or early 22, they can't even afford to buy their own house today.
I couldn't afford to buy my house today. Absolutely not. I'm making less money and prices are higher and rates are higher. Yeah,
so it's like, that's like something where it's like you're just kind of pushing up values because you're so limited in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And new construction is not going down. Like, dude, the cost of infrastructure just for the lot. Like, I'm getting ready to talk to the developer about grabbing 1 or 2 more lots where I kind of build that. Dude, 70,000+.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Minimum for the lots now. It's like the one I'm building on now is about 63. Like, golly, man. But this is a new phase. It's just so expensive. That's where they really need to approve smaller lots.
Right.
A lot more smaller lots.
Okay. So I just pulled this up from IDA's website, or IHCDA's website for Indiana.
Yeah.
The program allows for DPA in an amount not to exceed 6% of the lower of purchase price or appraised value of the subject property. The DPA being offered by IHCDA is evidenced by a non-forgivable second mortgage. There are no monthly principal or interest payments associated with the second mortgage, evidencing the DPA loan. Therefore, upon termination of the first mortgage, the full amount of the DPA must be repaid unless the first mortgage is refinanced using any IHCDA program. So this is from their website, and it was, when was this updated? Is there a date on here? December 2023, so last year.
Okay.
So they just updated that, and yeah, so it's no monthly payments, but when you sell or refinance that loan or otherwise pay it off in 30 years, or whenever you pay it off, you now have to pay back that second as well.
I mean, I guess that's not bad if they're borrowing the money interest free, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
As long as you're gonna stay there for
right.
What's the problem?
Well, I always tell people that I'm like, if it's the difference between this program and staying renting, in most cases, you're going to come out ahead with this program, right? What we're really talking about is like this program versus just doing an FHA deal if you have the 3.5%, or doing an EPM deal I was talking about earlier if you have a little bit less, but you want to get some down payment assistance that's not going to charge you more money, right?
Right.
So, it really is like, if this is your only option to purchase a home, it's still a great program to use. There's better programs out there if you can qualify for those.
Right.
So,
yeah, and especially if you're renting, I mean, you definitely want to get in the market and buy something.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion. So,
I
mean, it's crazy. Like, are you seeing all these reels and stuff that people like? You should be owning, you should be renting, you should be doing this, you should be doing that.
Gary Vee said something like that a while ago.
Yeah, they're like in high end markets where the homes are astronomical and the interest rates are higher or whatever. But it's like they're forgetting the appreciation, the principal paid, the tax free benefits.
Yeah.
I guess in certain markets it would make sense, but here, like if you're watching those reels and videos, like don't listen to them.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I mean that's for high cost places, right? Like if I was living in Miami, I probably wouldn't be able to buy a house,
Right.
But I live in the Midwest, and it's significantly cheaper over here. A lot of people, live in Middle America, where you can have that white picket fence and get that house for $300,000, and live there for 10 years, have it go up, an amount of money that's going to be good enough for you to get to the next place or use that for other financial goals that you have.
Right.
So, obviously, yeah, places like New York City, Miami, Phoenix, Arizona, like Seattle, those are all places that are popping, and
Right.
You're always going to have super high prices. And maybe it does make sense to rent if you can get something that's half the cost,
Right.
monthly or whatever. Right. But,
yeah, it's fun. Like, watching these videos, we were talking about it. You said Brent or whatever. I'm like, oh gosh. Yeah. So nice, man.
Good deal. Well, we're about an hour in, so I'll let you get out here because I got to get back to work a little bit here too. So
I appreciate it.
Of
guys,
course.
Good talking to you guys. I hope you guys watching or listen.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Get it, share, like it, do all the things, and when I release this, I'll actually post it on Facebook so we can get some traction going.
Right.
So,
for sure.
Thanks, Brent.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.